Thanks for tuning in. My name's Stuart. I'm a classical record collector, and I also sell records from my website, which if you're interested you can find the URL in the description below. So yes, I went to Holland last week. I left the UK on Tuesday evening and I returned on Friday evening. So I had 3 days. I saw Rotterdam, I saw Amsterdam and Den Haag, The Hague. Spent a lot of time walking, wandering the streets, and I was interested in seeing any record stores if there were any. I was going to leave it down to chance, but I decided to look up which of the record stores to visit in Amsterdam, and there were quite a lot, but really not many that seemed to mention classical at all. So I managed to narrow it down. There was one called Charles Classical and Folk Music Shop, which promised records and CDs. So I went there first, and then I went to a shop called Concerto. I've already made 2 videos, short videos, which you can obviously go and have a look, where I'm coming out of these shops and just saying more or less what happened. So let me first of all talk about the first of those shops. So yeah, Charles Record Shop, Charles. I can't talk about where it is because, you know, exactly, it's in Amsterdam. I won't say where it is. Here's a picture. Let's just have a look at the picture of the shop. And really, I didn't take this picture, but if you look at this picture, what does it tell you from the outside? Well, it doesn't look too promising because you can see that the name above the shop, part of the signage above the shop is missing. And below the shop window you've got graffiti. Kind of doesn't promise great things because it looks a little bit neglected. Nevertheless, we went in, and straight away when I started looking around, it's a small shop. This room that I'm in is probably not much bigger than this room. There's not even a basement where you can go down and look at records. It was like 90% or 95% CDs, some tapes, some videos. And as for the records, I didn't find more than about 20 or 30. Some were stuck up on the wall, and there were some others, but there was absolutely nothing there. You can imagine, if you go into a record shop as a classical collector, you want to see hundreds, thousands if possible, but you want to see hundreds in order to maybe find something that you might be interested in. And I couldn't find anything. There was an elderly lady behind the counter, which surprised me. Somehow I wasn't expecting that, but you know. And there were two other people that came into the shop with us, and they asked her something. She answered, and they left about a minute later, and then we were left there. And I just said to her, are these all your records? And she said yes. She said it's mainly CDs that they sell. Well, I went through the records, I didn't find anything, and I said to her, she seemed very indifferent actually. She seemed a bit indifferent to, you know, I mean, she didn't look like somebody that I could sort of talk to about records and other things. Whether she was standing in for somebody, I don't know. She looked like she was sort of 70 years plus. And yeah, I wasn't impressed with the shop. Maybe if I was looking for CDs I would have been, but as a record collector, the shop was just going to be of absolutely no use to me. However, I did ask her if there are any record shops she could recommend where I could buy records, and very kindly she did recommend Concerto. I wasn't actually planning to go there because when I looked them up online, there wasn't really anything about, oh, this is fantastic for classical records. There was a lot of information that it's a good record shop, but I should really, with a name like Concerto, have realised that there would be records there, of course, because after all, you don't really get concertos in pop music, do you, or folk music? You get them in classical music. So she directed us to this Concerto, this shop, which was only 10-15 minutes walk away. And we initially went off in another direction to look at some touristy things, and then we doubled back, and we went and we found Concerto. And we went in. It's like it's quite a large shop. It's like 2 shops next to each other, and they've got all the space. I went into the first entrance. I asked somebody where are the classical records, I saw there were virtually records everywhere, didn't even see any CDs. And he showed me some records. He said, these are new. Well, look, I haven't come in to spend 30, 40 euros a record, and I don't buy new records. So I said, do you have any second hand? He said yes, and he took me to the second hand department, and there it was. And I thought, wow, how many of these are classical? And I realized that, you know, I think they've got all the jazz on one side, all the classical on the other, and there were enough classical records there to interest me to really do the business and have a look through them and hopefully find something to buy. So let's have a look at a couple of videos that my friend took of me browsing, so that, you know, just to prove that I was actually there. I know you've seen a video of me, but let's just have a look and you can see me browsing in the shop. So here we are, let's go.
It's a living stereo. I hope it's. I don't know what it's going for actually. Oh, I see. Just a standard red seal label. Okay, I think that's probably.
Okay, there we are. Not that exciting really, but yeah, at least you can see that there's quite, I mean, all of those records on that side where I'm browsing are classical. On the other side, if I go around the shop and look on the other side of the retail display unit, I think everything is jazz. So yeah, I managed to get through. Everything's alphabetical, all by composer. You go through them, and each record is in one of these, which I found quite impressive. I've taken them out. I've got them here, the records I bought. So I spent about maybe half an hour in there, very quickly, you know, going through the records. And I had to bear in mind that I'd come on EasyJet. I hadn't paid for extra luggage, so I only had hand luggage of the smallest size, free of charge, to get on. So I had to bear in mind that, you know, I couldn't really buy too many records, because I didn't want to spend, say, 30, 40 euros on records and then have to pay another 30 or 40 euros to get them back. I wanted to get onto the aeroplane without having to pay anything at all. So I bought a dozen. I could have bought more. There are some that I kind of regret not buying. Look, there are a couple of things that really pleased me about this place. Okay, one is the organisation. Well done. Everything's nicely presented. What really surprised me is that the prices are reasonable. The prices are not going to break the bank. I expected to go in there and see everything like 10 euros, 15 euros, 20 euros, but it wasn't the case. I couldn't believe that I was looking at records which it wasn't going to really hurt me to buy the records that I wanted to buy in terms of price. The most expensive records were the British pressings. Yeah, they had some Decca SXLs and other things which were sort of priced at, you know, rough eBay price, but I wasn't interested in those anyway, and there was nothing really too expensive. I think the most expensive record I saw in there was about 30 or 40 euros, absolute maximum. Most of the records were like anything from 2 euros to 10 euros. So it's a really good place to go. It looks like they've checked the condition of the records before putting them out. I did find one or two that I didn't buy because I wasn't happy with the condition, but by and large the condition was good. Also, they've got a couple of record players in there hooked up to amps with headphones, and there was one I wanted to buy I was really keen on, which had a mark on it, and I thought, oh, that could be a surface mark, it might be okay. And I decided to go and try it out. Oddly enough, it played through that, but the record was noisy, so I ended up not buying it. Yeah, so really good to find a record shop that provides that kind of facility. Okay, I didn't check any others because, you know, I didn't have time to check them one by one, and if the record looks like it's in EX condition, it usually is audibly as well, so I was prepared to take the risk. So let's just go through the records that I bought. This is the most expensive record I bought. It's only €8. Mozart duos for violin and viola, and Haydn duo for violin and viola. Now the reason I bought this is special repertoire. You've got really special works by Mozart, the duos for violin and viola. There's another record on Philips with Grumio and I can't remember who else playing the Mozart duos. I've never seen this before, so it was really nice to get it. 2 soloists on there. I've heard of Mark Lubotsky, but I haven't heard of Nobuko Imai. I haven't heard of her, so really pleased to get that. Dutch pressing, of course it's in Holland, of course it's going to be a Dutch pressing. Philips, €8 I paid for that. Now there was another €8 record which I probably should have bought. It was the Walewska playing the Vivaldi cello concertos, €8. Damn it, why didn't I buy it? Why didn't I buy it? Should have bought it really. I know I can pick it up on eBay for maybe £10 or more, but I was there, probably should have bought it. Okay, so I like Arion. Arion are a really great label. I mean, you can see that this was like €24 when it was selling new, and I mean that was only €5. So for me, that's a really good price. I like Arion because they're produced to a really high standard in a lovely gatefold. Really good, lovely analog recording, and I mean for €5, I mean I would buy Arion all day long if it's like chamber music and the kind of music that I listen to. So that was really good to get that 4A record. Got 1 or 2 more of Arions. So this one's slightly damaged on the jacket. Edward Lalo and Camille Saint-Saëns. We got the Sinfonia Spagnola, and that is on the label. That's on a label I'm not familiar with, but it's what's it called? Polish Radio Symphony Orchestra, and it's Konstantin Kulka playing the violin. You know that I collect violinists. I'm interested in unusual, little-known violinists, and there's the label. So where's that pressed, I wonder? I'm not sure. Maybe in Poland, maybe in Holland. Probably in Holland, I suppose. €2. I mean, what can I say? €2 stereo. I'm delighted with that. I mean, this is the thing. I expected records like this to be €8, €10, and I'd only come out with 2 or 3 records, but no. The prices were just reasonable. Okay, another Arion record, Tchaikovsky, Sibelius, Grieg, Vaughan Williams, and the soloist is Annie Jodry. Yeah, so again, beautifully produced. So €5, great. I think this was a bargain. So we got Brahms, we got the Serenades, it's a gatefold on Orfeo, €3. What about that, eh? €3, 2 records. Orfeo, it's digital, the jacket's in fabulous condition. I mean, how can you leave something like that behind for €3? It's great, really pleased with that. Joseph Haydn, string quartets, really pleased with this because you normally see the Haydn quartets opus 76, you see the same old quartets usually on a single record, usually only on a set do you see the earlier quartets. So these are earlier quartets, opus 22 and 4, the Esterhazy quartet, and the label is, let's have a look, ABC Classics. So I'm not familiar with this label, and that's one of the things I like about going to Europe. You know, you see labels that you've never even seen before, you're not really familiar with them. Sion, I think, or ABC Classics. So yep, it's got the insert inside. I think, is that all in German? No, it's in English as well, so that's good. Alright, look, on this one, on the jacket, somebody's done a weird thing and cut a notch. I don't know why they've done that, but it doesn't matter. For £3, I mean, I bought a record on eBay once for £40, and I didn't see that somebody had cut a hole in the jacket, and I sent it back because of that, because if I'm paying £40 for a record, I don't want to see a hole in the jacket. Here's another one. There we are. Mozart, a couple of early symphonies, Symphony number 33 I think, and yeah, 2 early symphonies and Stamets. I don't know, why did I buy that? You know I like Mozart. Really nice thick pressing. Christophorus is the label I think, is it? Yeah, I don't even know that label. Maybe somebody, I mean some of you guys, if you know these labels, maybe you can give me some information. But it looks like really good quality. I mean, it exudes quality when you touch it, when you look at the record, and you know, the Prague Chamber Orchestra, you know it's going to be good. So delighted with that. For, oh, that comes as a deal, it's like 4 for £10, £3 each or 4 for £10, yeah? But I didn't manage to find 4 from that price range. Well, here's another one. That's also a 4 for £10, and that's Andreas Rohn playing Handel Violin Sonata, Debussy. Now this, no, not this one. Okay, yeah, that's the German pressing, by the way. And we got Joshua Epstein. Now this one I also found for €5, €3 and €5. They're both in more or less the same condition, so I bought the cheaper one. €3 for that. Yep, you'll all be rushing out there, won't you? Mozart violin concertos, that's Michel Auclair, and that is actually stereo. I don't even know about that recording on Fontana, so I don't know anything about that recording. I mean, Auclair is a kind of collectible violinist, so really pleased with that. What did it cost? €2. €2 for an Auclair. Can you believe it? We've got a mono here. This is part of the 6 for 10. So it's €2 each or 6 for 10, and stereo Jan Tomashov violin. It's got some pretty good works on it. Tartini, Vitali, Albinoli, Marcello. I mean, for me that's an absolute bargain. You know, that if that had been €5 I would have bought it. Don't let that out. But yeah, I mean you can find bargains in there. Nothing you can flip on eBay. But when I talk about bargains, records that you're delighted to have in your collection and you don't have to pay much for them. So here we are, here's another one, the Westminster label, Mozart, couple of early symphonies, four early symphonies, 14 to 17, Leinsdorf conducting in the London Philharmonic, and that is, I think that's a Dutch pressing, and there's also Silver Series, it tells you all the different records that are available. I quite like that, so you can sort of look out for some of these. So that's another good one. And that's it. That is what I bought. Here they are. I bought 12 records, and so to Holland I took my rucksack with some belongings in it, so I didn't go with much. And then I had this in a carrier bag. They very kindly gave me a very nice cloth carrier bag, which actually I wouldn't mind showing you if I could just pull it out. Let me just see if I can find it. No, sadly I can't find it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about that. Okay, so yeah. So the carrier bag that it came in, it's like a cloth carrier bag, and it says Concerto on it. I bought a large smiley face carrier bag from a supermarket called Jumbo. And I thought, great, I'm allowed one item on. But if I put 2 items into one item, that just counts as one item, right? Which is exactly what I did. Okay, the carrier bag was really heavy, and I went through at EasyJet. They didn't stop me. Everything was fine. I got these back without having to pay any supplement at all. So yeah, great. So of the 2 shops I visited, obviously if you're into CDs, Charles music, folk music and classical, yeah, by all means visit it. But the real gem is Concerto, and I wish I lived somewhere near such a good record shop. I'd probably be going there every couple of weeks, and I doubt I'll be visiting Holland again for a long time, if at all. I hate flying. I hate going overseas, but I did this trip. So yeah, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to your comments. Have you been in this shop? I mean, the great thing is, the records that I bought, you probably wouldn't have been interested in anyway. I've got interests which probably don't correspond with other people's interests, so the good thing is if I go into a shop like that, I'm going to find records that I'm interested in. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye for now.